All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're going to demystify a tool that's really shaking things up in web testing, Playwright. But to really get why it's such a big deal, we have to start with a question that, well, a lot of us have probably asked ourselves. Seriously, why is it so frustrating? If you've ever been in the trenches trying to test a web app, you know this feeling. It's like trying to hit a moving target in the dark, right? UIs are constantly shifting, things that worked perfectly yesterday are suddenly broken, and your tests become this flaky, unreliable mess. So what is going on here? Well, it's not just one thing. The problem is the very nature of the web today. The internet has evolved so much, and honestly, a lot of our old ways of testing are just struggling to keep pace. I mean, think about it. The web used to be like a collection of simple, static pages. Kind of like a book. You turn the page, the content is there, it doesn't change. But today's web, it's all about these complex, single-page applications. They're alive, constantly pulling in new data, redrawing themselves right in front of you. And that dynamic complexity makes those old traditional testing methods feel slow, brittle, and just plain unreliable. And that's exactly the problem Playwright was built to solve. It wasn't designed for the simple, static web of yesterday. Nope. It was built from the ground up to take on the chaos of today's dynamic applications head on. So what is it exactly? Well, at its heart, Playwright is a modern, end-to-end automation framework. And it comes from Microsoft, so you know it has some serious backing. The keywords here are modern and end-to-end. It's designed to simulate a user's entire journey, from start to finish, through the most complex web apps out there. And this is where it really shines. First off, it has true cross-browser support. And when it says WebKit, it means the actual engine that Safari runs on. Huge. Then you've got things like network interception, which lets you pretend the Wi-Fi is bad to see how your app handles it. But maybe the killer feature? Auto waiting. Playwright is smart enough to just wait for elements to be ready before it tries to clip them. You have no idea how many flaky tests that one feature just completely eliminates. It's a game changer. Now, for anyone who's been in this world for a bit, you're probably thinking, okay, but what about Selenium? And look, Selenium was a pioneer, no doubt about it. But Playwright is really the next evolution. It's built for the modern, asynchronous web in a way older tools just weren't. That means it's generally faster, more reliable, and a whole lot more versatile. Okay, so it's powerful, we get it. But how do you actually get started? How do you go from knowing nothing to being a pro? Let's break down the core skills you really need to build that solid foundation. The path is actually pretty clear, and it breaks down into 4 main stages. First, you got to get it set up and configured. Then you learn the most critical skill, teaching Playwright how to find stuff on the page. Buttons, forms, links. Once it can find things, you tell it what to do with them. Click this, type that. And finally, the most important part, you verify that the app did what you expected it to do. And honestly, that's the whole secret right there. If you can master how Playwright sees the page and interacts with it just like a real person would, you've unlocked the core of web automation. Everything else builds on that. Once you've got that foundation down solid, that's when you can get into the really cool stuff. This is where Playwright goes from being just a tool to feeling more like a superpower for testing. Seriously, this is how you level up. Think about it. You can test what happens when a critical API call fails. You can perfectly emulate how your site looks and behaves on an iPhone that's located in Tokyo. You can handle tricky login systems, build these amazing reusable test frameworks using patterns like the Page Object Model, or POM, and even automatically record videos of every test run so you can see exactly where a bug happened. And that right there is the big leap. You stop being someone who just writes a few scripts. You become an engineer who architects robust, scalable testing solutions that bring massive value to your team. So what does this all add up to? How does learning all this stuff make you actually ready for a job in the real world? Well, the great thing is it helps pretty much everyone in the quality assurance space. If you're a manual tester, this is your golden ticket to a high-demand automation role. If you're just graduating, this is a killer modern skill to have on your resume. And if you're an experienced QA pro who maybe came from the world of Selenium, this is how you upgrade your toolkit to be faster and way more capable. But there's one last piece to this puzzle, and it's integration. The real magic happens when you plug your Playwright tests into a CI/CD pipeline, using tools like Jenkins or GitHub Actions. This means your tests run automatically every single time a developer pushes new code. You become this safety net for the entire team. And this is really the end goal, isn't it? It's not just about learning a few commands. It's about gaining the confidence to design, build, and run automation that makes you a top candidate for the best QA automation jobs out there. You're not just ready for a job, you're ready for the industry. So I'll leave you with this one thought. The web is only getting more and more complex. So you have to ask yourself, is your testing toolkit built for the web of yesterday, or is it ready for the web of tomorrow? That's all for this edition of The Explainer.